Hey everyone, welcome back to Inside the Mind. I'm Sam, and sitting across from me as always is Sid. Last episode, we unpacked avoidant and anxious personality traits, and a lot of people wrote in saying it helped them understand themselves better. So today, we're going one step further, dependent personality disorder, or DPD. Sid, what are we getting into this time?
Yeah, Sam, this one's about attachment gone too far. Dependent personality disorder sounds simple at first, someone who depends too much on others. But when you really see it, it's not just dependency, it's a deep fear of losing support, of being left alone, of not being able to survive without someone else's guidance. And again, we're not experts, we learn from research, therapy, literature, people's real experiences, and bring it here as a conversation.
Right. So what does DPD actually mean in clinical terms?
In DSM-5, dependent personality disorder falls under Cluster C, the anxious and fearful group, same as avoidant and obsessive-compulsive personality disorder. The key idea? These individuals have an excessive psychological need to be cared for. They fear separation or abandonment so strongly that they surrender independence emotionally, socially, sometimes even financially. So it's not just love, it's survival.
That sounds intense. How does that look in day-to-day life?
Let me paint a picture. Say there's a person, Nisha. She's in her early 30 seconds. She can make decisions, but she doesn't trust herself to. When it's time to pick a job, she asks her partner, "What do you think I should do?" When it's time to buy something, she calls her mom. She apologizes a lot, even when she hasn't done anything wrong. Underneath all that is this constant anxiety. If I displease them, they might leave. It's like living with your self-worth tied to someone else's approval rating.
So it's less about love, more about control through fear, right?
Exactly. The relationship dynamic often becomes unbalanced. One person, the dependent one, constantly seeks reassurance, support, and decisions. The other person, the caretaker, might start feeling burdened or controlling. It's like a seesaw that never evens out. And ironically, that imbalance reinforces the dependent person's fear. They think, "See, they're pulling away. I really can't do this alone."
So what causes someone to develop this? Is it upbringing again?
Most often, yeah. There's no single cause, but some common roots. Overprotective or authoritarian parenting, where a child never gets to make their own choices and doesn't learn autonomy. Emotional neglect or inconsistent caregiving, making love feel conditional. Cultural or family dynamics, especially in collectivist or traditional setups, where dependence is rewarded. And early loss or abandonment, like a parent leaving or emotional trauma early in life, leaving a fear of ever being left again.
So this can look pretty normal from the outside, just someone who's sweet or selfless, right?
That's the tricky part. Society actually praises some dependent behaviors, being caring, agreeable, putting others first. But DPD goes deeper. It's not choice, it's compulsion. The person isn't selfless, they're scared. They say yes, not out of generosity, but out of terror that no might cost them love.
Wow. So how would you know if you're crossing from caring into dependent?
There are some patterns that hint at it. For example, you can't make everyday decisions without lots of advice or reassurance. You avoid disagreeing with people you rely on. You feel anxious when alone, like you might not cope. You let others take responsibility for major parts of your life job, money, living situation. You'll stay in unhealthy relationships just to avoid being single. And you fear losing support so much, you suppress your true feelings. Everyone does some of this sometimes. It becomes DPD when it runs your life.
So what happens when two people like this end up in a relationship?
That's interesting. Two dependents usually don't last long because both are waiting for the other to lead. But what often happens is a DPD person attracts a dominant or narcissistic partner. Because dependency feels safe to the dependent person and feels powerful to the controlling one. It's a tragic loop. One clings, the other controls.
So how does healing begin? Can someone actually grow out of it?
Absolutely. But it's tough because the fear of independence is baked into the disorder. Healing means learning to stand on your own legs, one small act at a time. Some ways. Therapy, especially CBT and psychodynamic therapy, to trace how the dependency formed and to build autonomy. Decision-making practice start with tiny ones, like picking what to eat without asking others. Assertiveness, training, learning to say no without guilt. Self-soothing techniques, journaling, grounding exercises, learning to comfort yourself. And support groups, where you connect with people who understand without controlling you. Sometimes it means going through a phase of loneliness, but that's where real independence grows in the silence after approval is gone.
That's deep, man. I guess the hardest part is realizing dependency isn't love.
Yeah. Love says, I choose to share my life with you. Dependency says, I can't live without you. One is freedom, the other is fear, dressed as devotion. And once you see that clearly, that's the first crack where light gets in.
That's beautiful. Any closing thoughts?
Just this, if you see yourself in what we talked about today, don't shame yourself. Dependency was your survival mechanism. You built it when you had no other option, but now you do. Healing isn't cutting people off, it's learning that you'll be okay even if they're not holding your hand all the time.
That's a perfect note to end on. Thanks, Sid. And to everyone listening, remember, this podcast is for awareness and discussion, not diagnosis. If you resonate deeply, consider talking to a professional. We'll see you in the next one.